And we are live. Welcome everybody. This is Josua Hannink from Future-Morphs. As always, if you are watching this live, thank you for watching. Definitely leave a comment. I will tell it later again if some people are watching. Today is Thursday the 9th of March 2023 and it's 6 o'clock in the evening. If you are watching this live, then ask me anything, leave a comment and I will let you know. But if you are watching this on a later time, then it's not live anymore, so you can definitely keep watching. You can also definitely leave a reply. I will type a reply then, but I cannot reply live to you because I keep saying it because every time, like at 8 o'clock this evening, I will be sitting on my couch and looking at the posts, and then I see people saying, oh, hello, I'm also watching, and I want to wave back and stuff, but yeah, if I'm not live anymore, I cannot do it, of course. So, as always, if you are watching live, thanks for watching, and leave a comment so I can see who is watching. Also, you saw the hashtag Ask Me Anything, as always as well. Just if you have any questions, just ask. It cannot be too crazy. It can be about corn snakes, other snakes, breeding, myself, I don't know. If you want to know something, just ask. And of course you will get a live answer as well. And we will talk today about corn snake breeding because all over Facebook you see quite some posts from people, but also I got a message yesterday or something asking like, yeah, I put my male and female together and they're not breeding, what should I do? And so I was thinking, let's talk a little bit about how breeding works in corn snakes, at least how I do it, but also how it works sort of internally. So because breeding corn snakes is not difficult, but breeding corn snakes is also not as simple as having a male or female, putting them together, and yeah, everything will work out. So the first viewer, Denisha, last time and on YouTube I forgot to mention her, so I'm sorry. But now thanks for watching, Denisha. Hopefully you can keep watching. We also have, that's a difficult name, Siafri, I guess. Hi sir, how to prepare blumation? Well, I think you mean brumation. At least blumation sounds like flowers. Dennis is also watching. Hi Dennis. I hope I really don't butcher your name, but Siafri, good question. So brumation is sort of the hibernation for reptiles, you could say. So in like some animals go in hibernation, like bears or something, and brumation is more for snakes. Preparing is quite simple. You stop feeding. Usually, I don't really brumate my snakes, but if you want to brumate your snakes, usually, let's say end of October, you stop feeding. Then you keep them warm all November so they can digest all the food and poop everything out. And starting December 1st, for instance, you just put them cool. So there are two ways you can slowly put the temperatures down so they slowly, get cooler and cooler. But I heard many people just saying, from today on the warm snake room, just the next day I will put them in a cold room without any light and temperature and stuff. So brumation is pretty easy. Mark is also watching. Hello, Mark. But it's a good question about brumation because a lot of people ask me, is brumation necessary for breeding corn snakes? The answer is pretty simple, no. I breed quite some corn snakes. I'm not saying I'm perfect at it, but I'm doing quite a good job. I get many clutches, many fertile clutches as well. And I don't brumate my snakes basically at all. So brumation in corn snakes is definitely not needed for breeding per se. Let me quickly take a sip of my own drink. Available at all the How to Reptile shows, so come get one. Before we get into it, also I want to quickly plug my Patreon page. Yes, I will ask you to become a patron like I always do when I know you guys are sick and tired of it. But there are really some good benefits. Also way more in-depth videos about breeding, for instance, and genetics. So if you want to learn more, definitely also become a patron. It starts at €4 excluding VAT, so not even €5. And for an entire month you can have access to all the videos. So at the moment there are 71 or 72 videos on there or something. So definitely think about that. Well, then breeding. How do I prepare breeding? Well, Rolf, I will just take you to my snakes because I also know you like to see snakes. Well, for instance, the setup is pretty basic. So of course I keep them in tubs. I have a water bowl that I can just take out and replace if needed. But with breeding season, I give them a lay box or a wet box or whatever. It's a 3 liter Braplas box with some damp sphagnum moss inside. And there's a hole in the front. You can also have a hole in the top or just cut out. The easiest, to be honest, is to cut out a corner here. That way the moss won't get out like this. But, well, when I started breeding corn snakes, I had a little different tubs than these. And I just cut open, let's say, when I had 10 females, I cut open 10 Braplas boxes. And the next year I got 10 more females. So I cut open another 10 other ones. And it just stayed like that, basically. So maybe next year I should just get all new Braplas boxes and cut this part out. It would be easier on one hand. On the other hand, this works for the snakes, and I don't want to throw away 100 good Braplas boxes. So, there's enough plastic already in the environment. So, if we can reuse it, why not? Well, let's go for another one. Woof. Well, nothing to see. A palmetto. Everybody likes palmettos. Hello. It's a nice palmetto even. By the way, if you think, oh, they look a little bit thick, are they already pregnant? No, probably not, because they ate yesterday. That's why they look a little bigger. Woof, I will also put you back in my tripod, otherwise I will be doing like this constantly and everybody will get seasick. So how do I do it? So all the females have their own individual tubs, and I make it. It's old school. I just use a piece of paper for each female. A couple of weeks ago, I did install Husbandry Pro, the app, and I sort of you have a 3-month trial version, and I put in some females, and it actually works pretty well. But for me, with my collection, it's basically, I think, too much work to put to put in all the adults is one thing. You only have to do it once and then you're done, of course. But also all the babies, it will be way too much work because there are so many different outcomes that you can have. The upside is, especially if you don't have a lot of snakes, or maybe like it's not specifically made for ball pythons, but if you have like 6 babies in the clutch, then it's a little easier than if you have 26 babies in the clutch, of course, because some corn snakes actually lay 20 to 30 eggs. And that is way too much work. The good thing, that's definitely why I would like to try it, or why I did try it, is because you can make a really easy available list out of it. So sort of like a mini website or a mini web shop. With like a picture and a price and stuff like that. But yeah, if I never have to put all my snakes in the picture, because mostly the simpler morphs, they go to wholesalers. So anyway, how do I do it? With the old school paper. So I just printed out myself, easiest thing ever. So there's the male at top and the female at the bottom. This 1 out of 2 is probably twisted for you, but yeah, that's just Facebook. I don't think there's a setting for it. Well, anyway, that just means 1 out of 2 is that this male has 2 females to breed. So this is the first female. And I do have a backup male. So in case the male is like either on the edge of size, for instance, for breeding, or if I don't see anything going on, then sometimes I will write a backup male. Of course, then you always have to choose a male that genetically you can see who is the father. So, for instance, this is a difficult one because the male could be an ultra ghost or an ultra male Enery. But yeah, for instance, you would choose a totally different male. So if I would put a backup male, I would choose something totally that doesn't look anything like an ultra male. So maybe just a ghost, for instance. So it would be easy to identify who the father is. Because yes, you can have 2 fathers in one clutch as well. So never just throw in 2 or 3 males in with 1 female, because then you will never know who the babies are. Unless you know genetically which should be which, of course. Maybe as you also saw, by the way, I started introducing males and females on the 3rd of March. So just a week ago. In the past, I started sooner, but that didn't really help anything at all. maybe you saw also on my YouTube, one of the YouTube shorts, I made like the males and the females like shocking over each other. That's of course a good sign that they are interested in each other. Usually that means that at least the male will do a try for breeding. If the female lets him, that's another thing of course. But that's a good start at least. But it doesn't mean anything. So don't think, oh, I saw some action, or some people put like, put two snakes in a curve box or a tub together without any bedding, and they see some sperm laying there, or they actually see a lock, for instance. That doesn't mean your female is pregnant. Stupid comparison, but if people lock together, it also doesn't mean the woman will get pregnant. So it's sort of different in snakes, of course, but it's also a little similar. So as long as you are not 100% sure your female is gravid, just start introducing the male, but definitely keep track of the sheds, because a female will shed just before she will lay eggs. Usually you can see if she becomes bigger, because the scales will actually go like... so you can see if she has eggs or follicles, because follicles first grow, and then they have an ovulation, so it will really become eggs. So also don't think, oh, I see that my female is a little bloop, a little chunky, so it must be eggs. It doesn't have to be at all. It can just be follicles. And without an ovulation, you will never get eggs. The follicles will just get reabsorbed. So there's a bigger chance, if you have to choose, then put the male in longer than shorter. That's usually always the best option. What else? They will just lay the eggs in the lay boxes. Usually I have the first eggs about a month after I start introducing pairs. So probably in, let's say, 3 weeks or something, beginning of April, usually the first eggs will be laid. I will do a new live video then as well, how it looks and how you can remove them and stuff. That's easier if we just have a real example, of course. In the meantime, if you have any questions while you are watching, just leave a comment, of course. Because I always have the feeling I am rambling way too much and talking way too much, and I never know if you can follow and or if I missed something. So if you have any questions, of course, just let me know. What else? I can also show you some males in the meantime. Well, or some females. It's I can show you whatever. So basically, not totally, but in the first rack we have mostly mimosa females and then some palmetto stuff. And then the palmettos and head palmettos continue here. Then some scaleless stuff, scaleless combinations. So, oh, she has some poop on her back. That's not the nicest. In case you are wondering, why doesn't she have a lay box? She is not big enough yet for breeding. So she is in an adult tub, but yeah, she's a 2021 scale. Yeah, well, it's definitely scaleless amber motley. She could be buff, but I'm not 100% sure. So, but well, buff is dominant, so I will find out with breeding anyway. Damn it, she's a full shed, of course. I showed these ones on a picture a week ago or something. Oh, but they're both in shed, so that makes it a little fairer. So these are both females, both adult, and they are both scaleless Enery tessera. In shed now, but well, this one is an older one. She's, let's see, 2018. Oh, bless me. So she's 2018. This one is 2020. But yeah, she's, as a baby, she was so bright, so she looked like a ghost or maybe a dilute or something, but there should not be any hypo or dilute in the line. So, Sandra, thank you. Maybe I'm allergic to snakes. That would be a bad thing. Or maybe I just have a sniffle in my nose. What else? I need a stool for it, but... Oh, and for people who watch more often, hopefully I will keep having a good connection, because the more I go that way, sometimes Facebook Live gets a little crappy. But this one is also pretty cool. Well, at least I like her. Roof. She is a scaleless amber tessera. And I really like the color. She, of course, yes, she's yellow because she's amber, but still she has some gray and... And well, I bred her in, let's see, 2020, so 3 years ago. And well, I'm not saying it's a world first, but it's at least one of the first, if not the first. But I never really keep track of world's first. So in the meantime, Mark asked a question, so I will show my face again. Mark said, do you try to get a second clutch or a third clutch from a female? Or what's your thought about it? Well, that's a good question. I will put you back in there. A third clutch is, well, I cannot say impossible. I had one female in my entire career, basically, that laid a third clutch. But it was really strange because the first two clutches were really small. But it was like every 2 months. So a third clutch can happen, but basically it doesn't happen. Let's put it that way. Second clutches in females do happen. So a second clutch, for people who don't know, it literally means a female lays one clutch a year and then she lays a second clutch. Usually I do go for a second clutch if the female is big enough. Sometimes females they put so much energy in the first clutch, or they have many eggs, or they stop feeding for a while, or whatever, and they are like really skinny. Then I won't introduce a male again. If the females are not too skinny after laying eggs, of course they will also always lose weight. About 1/3 of their weight they usually lose. But with some feeding they gain weight quick as well again. So if they look sort of okay, I will start introducing males again. Usually 3 to 4 weeks after the first eggs. That should be, or that's sort of the sweet spot. Sometimes I think like, the female's a little on the edge, I will wait 5 or 6 weeks, but then usually you are a little too late because they lay about 2 months after the first clutch. So then usually it's a little too late. So definitely it's possible. Also, by the way, females can lay eggs a second time if you don't introduce a male. So it doesn't mean if you think, oh, my female is skinny, I won't introduce a male. She can still make a second clutch. So you don't always have influence over it anyway. And sometimes I have females that are pretty big to begin with. They lay a small clutch. They feed really well, so they become sort of fat. Well, not fat, but like normal weight really quick. And I keep introducing males because I think, okay, lay eggs so you lose some weight. Otherwise you will become just a fat snake, and they don't. So some females every year lay just one clutch. Some females just lay 2 clutches, whatever you do. There also seems a little bit of a trend in when females lay. So, for instance, my Aztec animals, basically, I have many. I have too many. No, you can never have too many Aztecs. But they are always one of the first who lay. So it usually is clutch 1, 2, or 3 in the year, for instance. And it was with, well, because this one is second generation, I think. But the mom was always pretty early of this one, and also the babies of her was also pretty early. I think, was it last year? Oh no, this is the second generation. The first generation is another female that I already sold. But this year we will also have some more big females for breeding. Hello. So this Annerie Aztec. In the meantime, Timmy says hello. Hello. I was waving. I did not have a panic attack or something. This one is also pretty cool. It's definitely an Amel Aztec. She could be Hypo Amel Aztec. Oh, everything doing one-handed is so difficult. I really need a camera woman. So these are sort of normal Aztecs, and the female I showed you before is like an extreme Aztec. It only means extreme, like how much striped pattern they have, because it is just selective breeding. But of course, you could compare it with a pied-sided with like low white or medium white or high white or something. So if you see extreme Aztec, don't think it's an extreme morph or a super form or something, because that's not the case. Sandra asks, how do you know if a pairing was successful? Do you have to wait until the female is showing? Well, also good question. The way I do it, it sounds stupid, but I don't see real locks, like real pairings, that often. That's because I have many snakes. So by the time I'm watching in this tub and I'm at the end, then maybe these are pairing. But yeah, because it can just last for a couple minutes. It can also last for a couple hours that they are really locked together. But what I do usually notice is behavior. So either they are really shocking. Sometimes, well, often even the female also starts shocking. So in the past, or sometimes you read that the female just lays still and the male like goes over the female in a shocking motion. But especially last week when I first introduced all the males and the females also are like, whoop, whoop, whoop. And that's just a sign of them showing like, hey, there's a nice guy in the area, and yeah, I want to be as sexy as possible. So I do see a lot of that. Of course, I also see tries that the male really is like trying to put his tail under the female, basically. But if you don't see a lock, it doesn't mean anything. Unless you like put them together in a tub in the living room, let's say. If you have just one pair of corn snakes, I know that some people just put them in an empty tub and just put them somewhere where they can just watch them. And then they lock up pretty quick sometimes. Also because they are both out of their own environment and, well, there's nothing else to do than just reproduce. So then they can lock pretty quick. What I also sometimes do, or what I find, is that I find some sperm, some semen, usually the day after, for instance. Then at least I know there was some form of action. So they had a nice time at least. But it doesn't mean that it's inside the female, of course. So usually it is, because usually the male, the males don't really produce the way humans produce. So it really just goes off like a little like that. So it can really just a little bit be in the female and a little bit be outside. So at least if you see that, usually it means that there was a connection between the male and the female. But to be honest, it doesn't matter if I see shocking, if I see tries, if I see a real lock. A week later, the male just goes back in with the female. About a week later, maybe 10 days, depending on... Because if I have a male that has two females, for instance, I will start with this one. I leave it in for 2 days. Then it goes to the next female for 2 days. And then I will take him out. So I can feed the males and the females. Have 3 or 4 days in between so they can digest. And then I will introduce the male again. So the cycle is about a week till 10 days. There are different ways you can do it. The reason I leave the male in for 2 days is, well, it's two things. Sometimes you put them together and within 15 minutes they really mate and they are sort of done with each other. But I do sometimes find even after 2 days that I open the tubs for either cleaning or checking or whatever. And I see that they are still trying or even locked. So it's not that they won't mate after 2 days anyway. But mostly because I use one male for multiple females. If I would put a male in with her and I see a lock and I think, oh, they are disconnected from each other. So I will take him out and put him in here. Maybe he's sort of empty. If that makes sense. I want to keep it a little kid friendly. But yeah, the body of the male also needs some time to produce new cells. If that makes sense again. So that's why I usually do 2 days. So hopefully he mates in the first day. He can sort of have 1.5 days of relaxing and yeah, having his supply back up before he goes in with his next female. So I hope that sort of answers your question, Sandra. If not, then just let me know if you need more details, of course. But I try to keep it a little bit PG-13, I guess they say in America. So I don't want to say too many bad words, because then Facebook and YouTube and stuff, they will become mad with me. What else? Another question. People also ask, like, when is a female ready for breeding? Well, earlier I showed you a female that I think is not ready for breeding yet. So maybe in 2 or 3 months she will. And then I will definitely try. Sometimes it's too late in the season and it won't work anymore. But, well, if you don't try, you will definitely won't get babies. Okay, Sandra is happy with the information. Okay, good, thanks. So what they usually say, it was around when I started, so more than 20 years ago. You have basically the tree rule of 3. So a female has to be 3 years old, 300 grams and 3 feet. So that's about 90 centimeters long. So that's a good average, but there are some issues with that. If a corn snake in 3 years is not even 90 centimeters or 3 feet long, then, well, sometimes you have like maybe lavenders that stay short or something, but almost all corn snakes will be over 3 feet. So if you don't reach 3 feet in 3 years, then maybe your feeding schedule is way off or there's something wrong with the snake, but that's usually not a problem. The 300 grams is the thing I mostly look at, but I combine it not per se with age, because some females from 2021 can breed this year, so they are 2 years old. The average is with me that they are 3 years old. Most of them won't make it in 2 years, but it can happen. Sometimes they are 4 years old when they breed. So the 3 years is really an average for me. But I don't just look at weight, because you can have like a short, fat snake that weighs 300 grams just because you feed it every 4 days with a big mouse. So it is heavy, but it's just fat. So I don't just look at the weight itself. So the 300 grams is a good minimum, but also look at your snake, because some of them are short and fat but like really overweight. That's not healthy. Some of them are really long and skinny because they are really growing in length, but they don't have a lot of mass yet, basically. That's also not the best for breeding. They need, of course, a little bit of fat reserves. But you want a little bit sort of a mix in between. So you don't want a snake that is too long and skinny, but also not too short and too fat. So if I have 3 snakes that are 300 grams, it could be that, and they all have the same age. Maybe I decide to breed with 2 of them, but the other one I won't, because it's either, usually too skinny. I have some fat snakes, I will be honest, because most snakes in captivity are too fat anyway. Especially females just before breeding season. I really try to give them enough food that they have basically a little overweight, so they can use that to produce eggs, and they will lose that weight again. But yeah, the 300 grams is the most important, but always combine it with the look of the snake. Some corn snakes, they don't even reach 300 grams ever, basically, because they are just short, they don't grow in length, they don't grow, well, you can get them over 300 grams if you really just feed them everything, but then they will be an unhealthy over 300 grams. But yeah, some of them just stay small, like lavenders are a little known for it, Miamis are a little known for being short at least. Usually they are pretty stocky, but some morphs are also just, not the biggest. So size matters, but it doesn't say everything, at least. Jonas asks, what temperature do your female and males have in breeding time? Also a good question. Well, I can check. The room here is about 23 at the moment. At night it drops probably till 21, 22. So it drops a little bit, but not too much. In summertime, if it's really the hottest, so in June and July, probably it will be about 25 or 26 degrees. Just here, the ambient room temperature. The hotspots, I can show you, but it's not really fair. Oh, that's that's not a hotspot. That was just my. So the thermostat, it dropped a little bit, is set at 31. So that sounds pretty warm, but I will show you. The sensor is on the heat mat. Well, the heat mat is under the metal thingy. So in the box itself, it's a little cooler at the hotspot. So it's about, well, let's say 29.5 till 30 or something like that on the hotspot. So I will keep the hotspot the same entire breeding season, also in the winter time, by the way. So the only thing that drops is the ambient temperature at night, and in summertime it gets up a little bit. But basically, let's say I keep them between 24 and 30 degrees. You can keep and breed corn snakes at lower temperatures. Definitely don't keep them over 31 or something. It's known that the sperm cells in males can get damaged and stuff, so they're not good breeders. Mark said, was that a bald spot? Well, I will say no, but that's all. Oh, fuck, I do it wrong again. Oh, damn it, I mean. So, am I getting bald? I cannot see because I'm... I could not see. Damn it, I'm effing up again. So if I'm getting bald, I will blame my girlfriend Nicola. She keeps me under the thumb. No, it's not that bad. Lydia, hello. I don't know if I said it already. What else was I saying? Oh yeah, temperature-wise. So don't keep them too hot. I know that some people keep their corn snakes just at like between like 20 and 26 degrees or something. They will survive in the temperatures and they will eat and stuff like that. But I don't think it's the best for keeping and breeding them because, well, they do need higher temperatures for digesting and stuff like that. So, of course, a gradient of temperature is always the best. So let's say, yeah, between 24 and 30, then you are sort of safe, at least in my opinion. Eric asks, would you put a female in breeding cycle? What is definitely way too small? No, I won't, because then, well, you can, but you shouldn't, for multiple reasons. But one is an ethical reason, like why would you breed a really small female? Oh wait, there's more. Oh no, that's a second. Would you put a female in breeding, but what is way too small? But last year she laid an infertile clutch because she's never been with a male, age 4.5. Well, yeah, then the age makes it a little different. Yeah, I see. It was a two-part question. So, would I intentionally breed with a too small female? No, because like I said, it's an ethical question. Like, why would you breed with a, let's say, 200-gram female? We all keep snakes for ourselves. Let's be honest, I'm not keeping the snakes because the snakes are so happy here or something. So it's always a little selfish. But it's the same with cats and dogs and stuff, of course. But you do want to do it as good as possible, of course, for the snakes. A second thing is, if you breed at a small or young age, you can get eggs. Like a 200-gram female will definitely, well, not definitely, but they can breed and they can lay eggs. But maybe you get like 6 or 7 or 8 eggs or something, just a small clutch, usually. If you wait a year and she's then 400 grams, she might lay 18 or 20 eggs or something. So it's sort of not true, by the way, that snakes will always keep laying small clutches, but why would you? Because it will take a lot of energy out of the female. If I'm really honest, if corn snakes would sell for 100,000 euros each, then I would definitely breed. Well, I won't say definitely, maybe I wouldn't even. But then it would be way more tempting to say, well, I will just get 8 eggs out of the smaller female because I will have 800,000 euros. Then the financial incentive could be there. But it's about 10 and 20 and 50 and 100 euros. So I rather wait a year extra. My problem, well, it's not a real problem, but I have too many adults. Well, not too many, because I'm full with adult females. But I also have a lot of grow-up females. So these are just growing up. They're not big enough anyway for breeding. So I could breed with them, but yeah, I have more than enough anyway. So Eric's question is a little different because she is 4.5 already. So that is pretty old, and at least that should be old enough for breeding. And she laid infertile eggs last year. So that basically means, without seeing a male, that her body is saying, I want to reproduce. So that makes it a little different. So you could introduce a male, Eric. The downside, well, or an upside, depending how you look at it, usually if they lay infertile eggs, they lose way less weight. It costs way less energy for them to lay slugs compared to fertile eggs. So if she's small anyway, or at least if she is just skinny, then I would not introduce a male. If she is not high in weight, but she is just short and fat, basically, then you can definitely introduce a male. But yeah, like I said, you have less issues with weight loss with slugs, but also less problems with snakes getting egg bound, for instance. So females, if they lose too much energy or they have any issues in their body, they can get egg bound. So it just means the eggs cannot get out. She cannot push it out either because she doesn't have any contractions left, or maybe the oviduct is twisted or something like that. But with slugs, you almost never see those issues because the eggs are smaller and the eggs are softer, so they are way easier to lay. So if you are sort of scared about being egg bound because she's too small or too weak, then I would not introduce a male. But yeah, like I see now, just small in length. Well, if she is sort of good enough body size wise, so she has enough fat and muscle reserves basically, but she's just short. then you could definitely introduce a male. Age-wise, she can definitely do it. So if she looks good, then the 300 gram minimum is just, yeah, like I said before, not all snakes get to the 300 grams anyway. So hope that answers your question. But it's a little bit a case-by-case basis. You really have to look at the individual snake. So Vincent say, goedenavond. Well, goedenavond, Vincent. Jonas asked, how many meals do you give your females after brumation before breeding? Well, it's not a bad question, but basically it's either 0 or unlimited, depending how you look at it, because I don't really brumate. The ambient temperature in the room drops a little bit, but also in wintertime I keep feeding them. Usually depending on the year and stuff, but I try to go on vacation somewhere in January and February because that's the low season, because no breeding, no eggs, no nothing. So this year I was on vacation in January, for instance, and then for 3 weeks they don't get any food, but I do keep them warm. So, but usually if you really brumate, you could say like, yeah, you warm them up in the beginning of February, so you start feeding middle of February. Usually after the females and the males but had their first shed after brumation, they usually will start mating anyway. Then it will depend if the females are big enough, have enough fat reserves to lay eggs. On one hand, the trick is in springtime to feed a lot, because that sort of triggers, well, males as well, but mostly the females. They sort of think, okay, it's springtime, so that means there's enough food available. So there's enough energy available to make eggs, basically. Like from a biological standpoint, it's really stupid to reproduce yourself if it's like freezing cold and there's no food, because then you sort of know that your offspring will not make it anyway. So sort of, yeah, their dinosaur mind, yeah, wants there to be enough food, of course. So if you want to feed a little heavily, you can. Like I know, especially in America, they feed like 2 times a week, for instance. But then do a small prey, so don't feed like big adult mice to adult corn snake females. So take smaller prey items, so you can feed more often. But it's not necessary, in my opinion. But it also depends if your female is big enough already. And so, what I said, I usually feed the females once every 7 to 10 days. Maybe if it really, once it's like April, May, also after laying eggs, I try to feed a little more. So then I definitely try to feed every week. But especially before breeding, if your female is sort of fat enough anyway, that there's no real reason to really, yeah, put them full of food. Just feed them enough or normally. So yeah, they know it's springtime and there's enough food available. But again, it also depends if you had your snakes in real brumation for 3 months and you did not feed them for 3 months and they were really cold and they just heated up again. Yeah, then they need more food, of course. But I don't do it that way. So it really depends on your situation, basically. So I hope that also makes sense. Er zijn vele wegen die naar Rome leiden, we say in Dutch. So there are many ways that lead to Rome. Maybe it's also an English saying, but so the way I do it is definitely not the only way or the best way or whatever. It really is about your individual setup and how often you feed and how big you normally feed them anyway as well. So, so if you hear something and you think, well, but I don't do it that way, no problem at all. Your way can be just as good, but it's just, yeah, I can only explain how I do it. I also know how other people do it, but I don't have a lot of experience with it. So. Vincent says, hoe was je houten show? Ben je er in april ook weer bij? So he asked, how was the houten reptile show? It was 2 weeks ago now or something. Well, it was not bad. It was a little strange show compared to normal. I had 0 reservations. Normally I always go to a reptile show with some reserved snakes. Now I had 0, so that was a little different. Sales were okay-ish. They were definitely not the best show ever. But I sold quite some of the 2021 animals. So some bigger snakes. So that was a good thing. I also sold a lot of future drinks. I don't know why, but I was almost sold out again. And it was really busy. With people, but I also noticed it was a lot of, well, not a lot maybe, but more than normal, like families that just sort of came for a day out or something. So yeah, just parents with kids and stuff. And that's not a bad thing. I like talking to everybody, but sales-wise, of course, yeah, those people don't really. Well, sometimes they buy a corn snake, of course, but yeah. So sales were not the best, to be honest. But yeah, I also don't have hundreds of animals anymore. But especially that I didn't have any reservations was a little strange. So yeah, I don't know. It was not a bad show at all. I was really busy with talking all day with everybody. But well, yeah, it was just a little different than normally. But I will definitely be there in April again. Basically, I'm at every houten show and also at the Snake Day show, of course, as a vendor. So I will have a stand because, well, now it's 6 times a year now. It used to be 3 normal houtens and a Snake Day houten, but now I think it's 5 normal houten and a Snake Day. But 6 times a year is not that bad, of course. And from where I live to the houten show is about 45 minutes by car, so it's also not that far away. So I will basically always have a stand at houten, unless I really don't have anything to sell, but usually there's always something, of course. What is it? In 2 days on Saturday, there's also the really big reptile show in Hamm in Germany. That's about 2.5 hours from here by car. I will also go there, but I will just go as a visitor and bring reservations because I had a stand last time in December and also in September, I think. But the show is always so busy and I'm there alone because Nicola, my girlfriend, is in another part of the show then with her Rex from Repti Gems, the Rex. So yeah, it's just too busy, too warm, too crowded, and I don't have that many animals more for sale anyway. So I decided this time I will just go as a visitor and just bring all the snakes away that are reserved. That's a little more relaxing. And then I also have time just to walk around and see other animals and talk to people. Because that's what I usually miss if I have a stand. Then I think, then people come, oh, did you see that or did you see that? And I think like, no, because I'm sort of stuck here at my table. So I'm sort of happy that I can go to Hamm as just a visitor. So if you are at Hamm as well in 2 days and you see me walking around like in this shirt, then definitely come say hello. That's we can have a chat because then I have more than enough time for it. Vincent said, yeah, I was busy talking, but I don't mind. I like, that's why I also do these lives and I do YouTube videos and stuff because I like to educate people as well, especially in real life and with kids. If kids say, I'm not famous at all, of course, but especially at a houten show, then especially kids, they are like, and then they say, oh yeah, we know you from YouTube. So for kids, of course, YouTube is like a television. So sometimes people think I'm famous, but I'm pretty normal guy. So you can just come say hello or shake my hand or get a picture or whatever. I don't mind. I like all that stuff. So if you or your kids have any questions at the reptile show, just come visit me. I don't mind at all. So wat else does Vincent say? Je hangen daar goed uit en de tafel van je wederhelft zag er ook goed uit met de Rex. Well, yeah, thanks. So, Vincent said that my table looked good at houten. And also from my girlfriend, because she was literally next to me, she sells Rex. Shall I do a subtle? I will do a subtle commercial. Wait, it's not subtle at all, guys. By the way, but if you want any cool Rex, reptigems.de or just go on Facebook or something. So that was my subtle plug for Reptigems. So now Nicola can be proud of me and she won't hit me again and she won't give me a bald spot. But yeah, she sells Rex and also some snakes. So thanks Vincent that it all looked good. I always try to do my best, of course, that the table looks nice and presentable. So I have one more, well, let's call it an announcement. But if you have any questions, do it now, because it always takes a little while. So if you have any questions, just let me know. But I wanted to let you guys already know as well. I will post it after the live is done. But I will sell gift certificates again. It's pretty simple. It's not that difficult. But you can buy a gift certificate and you will get extra value. So basically you don't have to negotiate a better price. You will just get more value. And you can start getting them now and until the first babies hatch. So usually that's sort of the first week in June that the first babies will hatch. The reason I do it that way, I started doing it 2 or 3 years ago now, I think. I get some, for me, this is low season. So I have a little bit more time, but also less income, of course. I'm not starving for money, so you don't have to send me anything. It's not that bad. But this way I have some income now instead of later in the year. So you can buy a certificate for, I must say it correctly, for €50 and you will get 55, so that's 10% extra. You can buy it for 100 and you will get 120. I must say it correctly, yeah, so it's 20% more. Or if you pay €240, you will get €300 worth of value. So that's 25% more, so €60 extra. And you can use those to buy 2023 babies. So I don't know what will hatch exactly, but as you see, many females, so many things will hatch. So if you already basically know that you want a buttermotley, or a scalus, or a palmetto, or whatever. So if you basically know that that you want a baby anyway, or a mimosa, for instance, I will definitely have mimosas as well. So if you already know that you want something like that, you can buy a certificate for basically a baby, multiple babies, it doesn't matter. So you pay it now, you will get extra value, and by the time the baby's hatched, you can just say, oh, I want that one, and you don't have to pay because you already did. So that's pretty easy. I will also put it on Facebook. If you have any questions about that, just read the rules. It's really simple. I don't try to scam somebody. It really is just as simple as I sort of explain it. But if you have any questions, just let me know. That's sort of the last thing I want to talk about. So if there are no more extra questions beside my subtle commercial that Vincent noticed, it was so subtle. Then we will leave it at this. I don't even know how long I've been busy. Oh, I cannot see timing or something. Well, anyway, so thank you all for watching. I always like it if people also ask questions and leave comments. So that makes it a little bit more interactive for me as well. Hello, Manuel, just in time. Thanks for watching. If you have any extra questions after the live, just post them, of course, and I will either reply to them via text or I will do it in the next live or whatever. So that was it. Thank you. See you. And hit the like button and subscribe and stuff like that. I don't care. See you guys. Bye.